Right now, there's a top tier model that you can use completely free and nobody knows what it is. It's called Ox Alpha and it's on OpenRouter, OpenCode client and news portal for free. It's got a 1 million token context window, it takes text, images and videos, and it gives some seriously impressive results. And even though nobody will say what it is, we do have some pretty good clues. So this all started when OpenCode tweeted, Ox Alpha, stealth model, free for the next week, 1 million context, multimodal, 0 data retention, and that they have capacity for 100 trillion tokens per day. This was followed up by OpenRouter making the same announcement, and News Research saying they have capacity for 1 quadrillion tokens per day. Like damn, this is a seriously big stealth launch. Now before we jump in and play detective, it's worth asking, is it even worth doing that? Is this model actually good? And the answer is mixed. Klein tweeted this benchmark showing it beating Fable and Sol by quite a bit on Deep SWE bench, but this is misleading in my opinion, and anyone telling you this is better than Fable is either clickbaiting or overhyping it, and I'm not here to do that, so subscribe if you appreciate that. The source for this was actually Ben's tweet, where he ran it through 10 of the tasks on Deep SWE, and yes, it did beat GPT 5.6 on those, but on a more complete run, it's looking closer to 63%, which puts it near Grok, DeepSeek and Gemini, or Fable and 5.6 Sol on a medium effort level. So keep that in mind for your comparisons. Something else interesting though is apparently it averaged 47,000 output tokens, which groups it closer to the closed models, but I must say I don't think it is one. There is just so much speculation on Twitter out there at the moment, so instead of comparing all of these competing benchmarks, let's just jump in and try it ourselves. So I ran the usual tests that I run on all of these models when they're released. The first one is for a personal finance management dashboard with a load of features, but I don't tell it the stack to use. I just want a full stack application because I'm pretty curious at what tech stack these actually choose. You can see here I used Ox Alpha, used 84,000 tokens. This actually ran for 45 minutes as well, but the good news is this one is completely free. I also compared it against Fable Medium, Sol Medium, DeepSeek, GLM 5.3, Gemini 3.7 Flash, and Kimi K3, because I'm pretty certain this is an open model, so I want to compare it against them, but I'm also curious how it performs against those frontier ones. This was the result that I got back from Ox Alpha in that single prompt, and I've got to say I'm pretty impressed. This is an incredibly usable app. I like the UI, it's pretty sort of shad-cien coded. All of these pages work, I've checked that the features work, and overall, as I said, it's a usable app. I could use this on my own. If I was making a piece of personal software, I would not complain if it looked like this. When it comes to the actual code, it chose a pretty reasonable stack as well. It used Next.js, which I can't really complain with, and it also used Drizzle and better SQLite, which is a very good move. It used a real database, which a few of these models don't. So overall, I'd say this has done a really good job on this personal finance dashboard app. It chose a good stack, and the app is usable. Next up, we have what DeepSeek V4 Pro gave me, and I've got to say, when I first saw this, I thought Ox Alpha might be one of the DeepSeek models because these UIs are incredibly similar. And again, though, this is a very usable UI. I couldn't complain about this. It looks very shad-cien app. And all of these accounts, transactions, and goals tabs do work, except they're not actually tabs. They're just going to a different point on the page. So that is a little bit different there from Ox Alpha, but the UIs are incredibly similar, and so is the code. When we look at the stack that it also chose Next.js and better SQLite. The only difference is it didn't use Drizzle. It just went its own way by using the database itself. I would have preferred to have that Drizzle layer. DeepSeek actually took 15 minutes on this task and cost 19 cents. And while there's a lot of similarities to Ox Alpha, I don't think it is Ox Alpha, and you'll find out why in a bit. Continuing with the open models, this is what Kimi K3 gave me, which a lot of people think is the best open model at the moment. And this one actually took 38 minutes and cost me $1.92. So we've had quite a step up in price on this one. Again, it looks pretty similar to what we have with Ox Alpha. Ox Alpha is definitely a Chinese open model, or at least it is as the base, as they're all using this sort of same UI design. You can see it all works. It has the nice dashboard. We've got an accounts page, transactions, and goals. This one is a bit more similar to Ox Alpha, where it's actually done separate pages for those. But again, everything looks pretty standard and is usable. Where Kimi differs quite a lot though is in the code. It just went with a plain React front end. It doesn't have any routing or anything like that. And for the back end, it chose an Express server and it used Node SQLite for the database. So it does have a database, but to be honest with you, for $1.92, I prefer what Ox Alpha and DeepSeek gave me, which was a full Next.js app that I could scale in the future. Now I'm going to take a quick detour from the open models and focus on the closed ones. This is what Fable Medium gave me. Obviously being on that medium level, it doesn't want to think for long, so it only took 3 minutes and 42 seconds, but it still cost me $2.60, which was the most expensive out of all of these, and the results are pretty underwhelming. It's just a single page. It does what it says it does. I can send money, I can add funds, all of that is working, but this is just a plain React app with an Express backend, and it doesn't even use a real database. It stores all of this in JavaScript, so I refresh the page, everything goes away. I think the takeaway from this is if you're not switching to some of these open models to save yourself some money on that higher thinking, you are definitely missing out. It's a pretty similar story for GPT 5.6 Sol on a medium effort level. It's a fairly nice UI. This is very GPT coded. It loves all of these monospace eyebrows and also these side borders, but I can't really complain at how the UI looks. The features though, they're not actually working. We can't go to the accounts tab, transactions, investment or goals, hasn't implemented them. You can send and add funds, but it's actually built this on a Next.js app, but then hasn't used a real database. Again, it's just storing all of this in JavaScript, and that's probably because it just spent 4 minutes on this and it cost me 33 cents. The last closed model that I tried was Gemini 3.7 Flash, and this was on a high level since it matches in the benchmarks. And you can see this is a very similar UI to what the open models have been giving us. I'd sort of call this the last generation of AI UI. It always has this similar look, and Fable and OpenAI seem to be moving away from this. Everything in this is working though, and all of these tabs do actually work, and there is something on them. So bonus points for Gemini 3.7 Flash there, and this actually took me around 10 minutes and cost 50 cents. When it comes to the stack that it chose, this is actually a Next.js application, but it didn't use a real database, so it's pretty similar to GPT 5.6. On to our last comparison then, and this one is GLM 5.3, and I left this one to last for a reason. You can see the UI is pretty nice. It went in a different style from the other ones. Still has sort of this green that all of them seem to be using. But this one actually went with a light mode. And when it comes to the features, it's pretty similar to all of the other ones that we had, and all of these are working. This one actually took around 50 minutes to generate, and turns out it cost me $5, so this is actually the most expensive one. But the interesting part is in the stack that it chose. It chose a Next.js application, it used better SQLite, and it also used Drizzle. So this is the exact same setup that Ox Alpha used. When I saw that, I decided to ask Claude to compare all of these code bases and see if there's any similarities, and see what it thinks the stealth model is. This is the summary of Claude's findings, and as you can see, it thinks the stealth model is a GLM one. Looking at the tests that Claude did, one of them was to compare structural patterns, so this is things like how components are assembled, and it found that GLM 5.3 has 22.4% in common with the stealth model, which is higher than all of the others. The only one that comes close is DeepSeek with 19%. It actually notes this could be a false positive, since Drizzle was used in both the Ox Alpha and GLM 5.3, and they're the only ones to use it. If you actually remove Drizzle, DeepSeek actually has the most in common with our stealth model. So could this actually be a DeepSeek model? Well, the answer is probably not, because next it looked at some rare markers. These are non-obvious choices in each codebase, and it found that stealth and GLM 5.3 shared a lot of them. They both used a parse amount to sense function, and the function was practically identical. They both used Drizzle ORM. They also both rewrote the README. None of the other projects did this. These were the only ones to rewrite the README, and the README itself has an identical structure. So it's pretty likely from all of this analysis that this is a GLM model, or at least it used GLM as a base. You don't just have to take my word for this. A lot of other people have looked into this, and they found that the tokenizer is practically identical to GLM's. It gives the same error messages as GLM models, and perhaps the strongest clue is the video encoder in this model uses the exact same tokens as the GLM vision model. I'll leave this page linked below that has a list of the other similarities, but I think it's pretty clear this is a GLM model. This could be GLM 5.5, which is now multimodal, or perhaps it's a post-trained version of GLM 5.3, or even more exciting, this could be a Flash version. It doesn't even have to be z.ai either. Since GLM is open, this could be another company that's taken GLM and used it as a base. Overall though, it's just a very competent model, and it has a price that is impossible to beat, and that's going to last till the 27th, so get in there while you can. Just know that prompts and completions are retained by the provider, but apparently they're not used for training. What do you think this model is? Let me know in the comments down below. While you're there, subscribe, and as always, see you in the next one.